Hey, it's Steven here from Marketplace Superheroes, and in this video, I'm going to sit down with one of our members and now our legal expert in Marketplace Superheroes, Mr. Robert Wright, and we're going to talk about his journey from going from an attorney without an Amazon business to starting an Amazon business and getting success, and then his journey from going from just a typical attorney to now an Amazon private label expert. Before you jump into the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Click on the subscribe button beneath this video. Let's get into this now. I think you're going to really enjoy this case study. Hey, it's Steven here from Marketplace Superheroes, and I am here today with our legal superhero, resident, legend, whatever you want to call him, so Robert Wright. How you doing, Robert?
I'm good. How are you, Steven? Great to see you today.
Yeah, absolutely. So Robert, I thought I'd bring you on today because we're making videos with a lot of members now, going through real case studies as to what they've been up to with their Amazon business. I thought it'd be cool to bring you on today just to hear a little bit about your backstory, how you got involved with ourselves, but more importantly as well, the fact that what you do as a legal professional, but also the fact that you started your own Amazon business. I think that whole story is really interesting. So if you want to just take us through pre-Amazon and what made you think to get into Amazon, I think that'd be really interesting.
Sure. Yeah. Happy to do that. So, the law has always been my first passion, right? I mean, I remember back to being a little kid watching, Matlock and Perry Mason and just any sort of legal drama on TV I love. So I've always naturally been drawn to law. So it was a no-brainer to go to law school and become a lawyer. But I've also always had a bit of an entrepreneurial streak to myself and just have always kind of dabbled in, side hustles or side businesses, or maybe I want to try to do, whatever. With that being said, I wanted to help those people because I understand the challenges that a lot of entrepreneurs have. They don't know about contracts. They don't know about trademarks. They don't know about copyrights. And so I combined the two when I opened my practice. I've got the passion for law and I've got the passion for entrepreneurship, smushed them together and just really kind of opened an online law practice that was very broad and just trying to help all entrepreneurs. And it was great. It was really good. But then all of a sudden I started having clients that would come through my doors that would talk about brand gating and hijacking and buy boxes and all of this very Amazon-centric nomenclature. And it really threw me off, right? Because here I am, I'm a trained legal professional, and I can talk to you about patents and trademarks and copyrights, but I don't know about buy boxes, and I don't know about hijacking. That sounds horrible. This is an awful thing, right? Oh my goodness, hijacking. And fortunately, had done some work with you guys previously, and I thought, what, this is a great opportunity. I want to learn private label. I want to learn Amazon. And so I'm going to go to Marketplace Superheroes, and I want to be a student. I want you all to teach me how to get a private label business up and running.
Yeah.
And I did so for two reasons. One, selfishly, it's a great business model, right? I mean, it's largely passive once you put in all kind of that upfront work. It's the biggest marketplace in the world. I mean, it's a no-brainer to really, if you want to do any sort of, online business, Amazon is that, right? So selfishly, it was just, I was able to kind of tap in and explore and quench that entrepreneurial thirst that I had. Yeah. But also it gave me the opportunity that, as clients would come in the door and talk about hijacking and gating and brand registry and transparency and all the different Amazon whatevers, I was able to understand what they were talking about. Number one, I was able to understand why they needed it so badly and why owning the buy box is such a big deal. And what it feels like when you don't, and all of a sudden your sales are up here and they just tank. It was a beautiful marriage of the two. And I'm so glad that I've done it. I've been doing it for several years. I mean, my practice these days is no longer a very broad brush entrepreneurial focused. It's very much centered on helping private label sellers sell on Amazon. So
that's great. It's interesting as well because, a lot of times when people are considering getting into different businesses and there's lots of different, experts out there online talking about different things. I think one of the big things that separates Marketplace Superheroes from everybody else is we've got people like you, Robert, in the community. But you, again, as you've already talked about, actually doing the business as well, learning as you've gone along. And I think that's really important. So I think what I'd like to talk a little bit about is, when you started your Amazon business then, what was the sort of the journey? What did you learn along the way? That kind of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, one of the things I think you have to go into anything like an Amazon business, just being willing to learn and very open. to learning. And so I was very much that. But what was interesting, one of the things besides you guys and just, our relationship and the trust and confidence that I have in you guys, I love the fact that the marketplace methodology is based upon data, right? There's a lot of other courses or, blogs or YouTube, whatever's, trying to talk about, selling private label. And there's a lot of glitz and a lot of glamour, and you get this supplement and you wrap it in a fancy box and you send it in and you run ads and all that sort of stuff. And I'm sure that's a viable method. But to me, just having run my own law practice, I know that business, sometimes you've got to deal with the really boring aspects of it. Sometimes it's a numbers game. It's about making sure that, you're getting an ROI on your advertising and that the budget is balanced and the whatever. So there's not it's easy to kind of see through those smoke and mirrors and get distracted by that sort of thing. But you guys and the marketplace methodology, it's about data. It's not necessarily that sexy next new product. It's not go off and create something. And so I was very attracted by the fact that, there are going to be times, it's an amazing thing and it's a great thing to take a product and launch it. But what's driving all of that are hard numbers, and that's a sustainable business. Yes. So first and foremost, I knew that whatever I was building, it was on a solid foundation. It wasn't a foundation of sand. It wasn't, this is the greatest new product today because it's got a great, label or whatever, and then it's swept away by the next new wave, whatever. It's a legitimate business. So that was my first, realization. And really, as I've gone through the journey, that's been validated. The products I've launched, a good 20 something odd products across 2 continents, and the ones that have been successful have been the ones that have been data driven, have been data centered, not the ones that I thought, I could put a unique spin on this, or maybe if I make it red instead of blue. Those have been the ones that haven't done as well. It's the ones that I go back to the core system of finding what I call a kind of a dumb, boring, unsexy product. Maybe it's got a nice utility to it. It moves a couple of days. Those are the ones that do well for me. And it's just having kind of through the journey, like stuck to that core, but then also deviated a little bit at times to say, I'm smarter than the system. I know that really what's holding me back with the market back here is that it's blue instead of red. So I can make it red. No, I'm constantly reminded, stick to the basics, go back to the core system, let data drive you. And if you're selling, don't love what you sell, right? Like if people are buying spatulas, sell them spatulas. It doesn't matter if I use spatulas or not. If people are buying yoga socks, doesn't matter if I do yoga, sell them yoga socks. I wouldn't recommend either of those products, by the way. But
no. But again, the concept is there.
The concept is there.
Yeah, it's cool. But I think as well along the way, Robert, sometimes people wonder, does this work and stuff? Obviously, we're talking about your story, and you've brought in, I'd imagine probably in the 6-figure range, maybe revenue by now, or certainly.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. It very much, in terms of revenue, you can generate as much revenue as you're able to invest in. And that's another learning, right? Like if you think you're going to take $100 and make $1 million, it will happen. It's going to take decades, but there's a lot of people that think, I could just earn this $100. It doesn't work that way. This is, again, it's a real business. If you were to go to a store, like you were to open up a shop in the mall with $100 of stock, that's not going to get you very far, right? Like you've got to understand the model and then invest in the model. Exactly. I've seen it myself when I've done that. Yeah. I've reaped the rewards. Yes. One of the cool things of sitting and working with a lot of private label sellers, and a lot of my clients are very early on, right? Yeah. I get to watch their journeys, and I have seen time and time again, those folks that follow the system, they don't deviate from it, they make the investment, they easily make 6 figures. I was talking with a client the other day that literally started about a year ago. They just stuck to the system, and we were talking about their year-end numbers, and they were well over 6 figures. Yeah. And they were beside themselves. So it's very much a viable business model, but it is one of those that that you have to invest in, you have to be willing to invest in.
Absolutely.
Not from a course perspective and understanding and learning the methodology, but then also you have to invest in stock. If you don't have any stock, you don't have a business.
And absolutely. No, that's really, really true. Yeah. So as well as that though, I think you've also worked with some much bigger Amazon sellers in the past as well, right? So I know you said you worked with a lot of beginners, but
Yeah.
an insight into like how big you've seen some sellers actually get, just for people going like, well, how big can you actually get?
It's incredible. And one of the early conversations that I'll have with clients is where are you in your private label journey? And a good number are starting off, but then there are others that are well-established brands that are selling, 7 figures,
Yep.
And everything in between. One of the cooler stories is there was a client of mine that, their whole goal, they were like, listen, we want to exit at the end of the year and we want to exit for 7 figures. And so I worked with them to, well, here's the strategy we need to take, and here are the things that we need to file, and here's the intellectual property we need to protect. And obviously you have to have a good product, you have to have good sales, you have to get revenue. But sure enough, like at the end of the year, this particular client exited for 7 figures. I've also worked with some larger brands, and unfortunately I can't give anyone's names.
Yeah, I understand.
But that in the, not a superhero centric product, very much a supplement sort of product that does incredibly well. I mean, they're internationally known.
Bigger.
But yes, very big. I mean, so I've seen everything in between. I mean, you can make a lot of money on Amazon.
Yeah.
If you have a plan and you stick to it.
Yeah, and I love that because, that's the one thing we always preach here. Like, it's a real business. It takes real capital to get it started. But at the end of the day, I was speaking with some clients recently. We were talking about this, and we were saying, when in the history of mankind have you been able to just start a global business for like under $10,000, right? It was never doable. Whereas now, you can get started at a different, you can start between $1,000 to $3,000, as we say. But really, I always look at it and I say, if someone's getting into real estate, which I'm sure you've seen a lot of in your time, you're putting in $100,000, $200,000 to get into something at times. Sometimes you're putting in a big deposit on a loan, and really like the returns on things like real estate, while it can be good at times, it can be very, very skinny. Yeah. And so I think it's important to mention as investments go, this is like a really good, solid investment if you're prepared to be patient and work through it as you talked about.
If you're prepared to do it. And I think where people hesitate with being willing to make that investment is that they've been burned before, right? Like they've tried drop shipping, or they've tried Shopify, whatever the shiny new course is that's going to make you $1 million by only investing $100. Yeah. They've done that. They've spent a lot of time, they've spent a lot of effort, and they lost, several $1,000s, right? And so, as people think about Amazon, there is that hesitancy of, well, is this really going to work, right?
Yeah.
And I'll even admit, starting off, even though I'd seen success stories, I'm like, well, I'm a lawyer. How do I, can I actually do this? Can I sell a physical product? How, do I have the skill set for this, basically? Once you switch your mindset and you just, again, if you're open to it and say, listen, I'm going to take, even if it's just a couple $1,000s, to say, okay, I'm just going to launch one product and see if I can do it.
Get going.
And once you do it, you change your mindset, and you're like, well, wait a minute. Now I understand how this works. I understand how to get a product from over on this side of the globe into a warehouse somewhere in the middle of the United States and get people to buy it. Then you just get a comfort level, and you're like, well, this works. And not every product's going to sell the same, but again, you all even build in a methodology. You're like, well, listen, don't go buying 3,000 units of anything. Like, buy a small trial order, something that you're comfortable with. Get it in, see what it does, get the data, and then based upon that data, do it again if it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, we'll move on to the next product. I mean, it's but it's a mindset thing. Like, you really have to be, I always kind of talk with clients about, if you're serious about your business, take your business seriously. Yep. You have to be willing to invest in your business. That's part of taking your business seriously.
Absolutely. Well, that's huge. I've certainly learned a little bit today, actually, as well, just going back over some of the things you always talk about when we're speaking to members. And it's true, some people might say, well, Robert, what you just said was very simple, but it is very simple because it's a simple business, and every business actually is simple. I think that, a lot of times when you talk about people getting burned by by different things in the past. I think a lot of that just comes down to, someone trying to be like a wizard waving this magical wand. And,
Yes.
the reality of life and business is that there is no wizard, but what there are proven methodologies and principles. And also, I think, Robert, something that you see, because you're a legal expert in this area, that you're helping people like as a legal mentor. And I suppose you've seen the power of kind of mentorship from that perspective. But mentorship is
Absolutely
big,
Yeah, 100%. Well, and it's one of the things, I mean, one of the things I love about the superhero community is like our Facebook groups, right? I mean, you have various groups for different programs that people, as they, maybe they're doing traditional, superhero methodology, maybe they're doing invasion, whatever it is. But like the really great thing about our community is the community, right? I mean, people, experienced sellers ask questions in our group and they get an answer. New sellers ask questions in the group and they get an answer. And it's not, I mean, I know I was answering someone's question about last night. They said, hey, I found this product and it's got a patent. That's probably no big deal, right? Well, no, I'm typing on Facebook. I'm like, no, stay away. You don't want to use that product. Like, go find something else, right? Like, and it's a great community. It's a very supportive community, and people, are willing to share both good experiences and learnings, quote unquote experts. I can't call myself an expert because of legal ethics or whatever, but like learned people, I guess, whether it's, from a financing perspective or a legal perspective or otherwise, or in the group and active in the group. And so it's just a huge value add, frankly, because there's the course and the learning that you take from the course, but then there's also the follow-up and the community aspect, which, frankly, I get as much value out of that as a member as I do as someone who contributes to the group.
Well, Robert, that's awesome. So I think what we'll do is some parting words from you. If there's maybe one or two little pieces of advice you give people that are starting, maybe even people who are kind of considering working with us either in our coaching program or even just our core program, what would be your kind of advice for people at that level?
Yeah. So number one, I would say find a mentor, because, the course is great and the course is good and it gives you everything that you need. But, my experience where I saw my business really start to grow and scale was when I had a mentor and I could ask, very nuanced questions, very personalized questions. I had someone that would hold me accountable. If I have a meeting, this week to say, okay, well, here's what I'm going to bring next week to the table. I've got to do that. I've got someone that's going to expect those deliverables. So find a mentor. I would also say, keep it simple, stupid. It is, and I constantly remind myself of this. Like you just said it, Stephen. The business, it can be really simple if you let it be, but just we as humans want to just unduly complicate things. I have found myself, even though the course says for the label that you put on the product, just go to PowerPoint or Google Sheets and make a dumb, boring label with your brand name and the UPC. I've done that, but then I will say, well, it needs to be pretty, or it needs to be this, or I need to hire a designer. If I tweak it, and I'll smack myself in the head saying, no, keep it simple, stupid. And done is better than perfect. If you want to do a fancy label sometime down the road, you can do it down the road. But for right now, keep it simple, stupid.
Awesome.
And then thirdly, I would say, if you're serious about your business, take your business seriously. If you want to be successful in private label, you're going to have to make the investment. You're going to have to invest in a course, something to teach you how to do it. You may have to invest in a mentor. I would recommend it, frankly, if you want to scale quickly. Yep. You're going to have to invest in things like trademark registrations to get brand registered. You're going to have to make the investment in a CPA to make sure that your books are up to date and, current, and you're paying your taxes. I mean, that's what real businesses do. And just the fact that you're sitting behind a computer or you're working from a Starbucks or at the beach or the pool or wherever you're working from, that doesn't mean that you don't have to do those formalities.
Yeah.
And that requires investment.
Yeah. And I think as well, the important point on that also is sometimes people might go, oh my God, I have to get all these things today and it's going to cost like tens of thousands of dollars. And yeah, but number one, they don't. I think it's important to mention, and Robert is correct. And number two, like some of these things, just for those of you who are brand new to business, they can come down the line. So a CPA, you can trade for maybe a little while once you get a company established. And so I think in principle, Robert, what you're saying is 100% correct. I just wanted to make sure people that are new don't get scared.
Absolutely. You don't know. It's not like, and I guess, so let me nuance it a little bit. it's not like you don't have to do all those things up front, but I think
Exactly.
mentally you've got to be in a spot where you know
Exactly.
those are coming. When I talk with clients, I ask the question, where are you on your private label journey?
Exactly.
And because it is a journey, you're not expected to do everything immediately,
Of course.
but there are steps. Just like if you want to get, if you wanted to go, visit your grandmother at her house, there's steps you have to take to get there. You have to get dressed. You have to get in the car. You have to drive down the street. You have to turn right at this highway. You got to pull in the driveway. That doesn't all happen at once, right?
Yeah.
If you want to get to grandmother, you gotta do those things. If you want to be successful, whether it's 6 figures or 7 figures, you're going to have to take those steps. It's a journey. And so, no, not everything has to be done right up at once. Again, keep it simple, stupid. My second takeaway, right?
Yeah.
But just have the mindset that you're going to need to make investments along the way as you grow and scale. And the good thing is you've got a really supportive group of people that won't let you make an investment when you shouldn't be. I mean, I actually, as I talk with people about trademarks, if they're not ready for it, I'll tell them you're not ready for it. Like, I'm happy to help you. Come back later. Like, you're not there yet, because you don't want to sacrifice the amount of money that you have or where you are in the journey. It just wouldn't make sense to do it right now. So come back later. There's a very, very supportive community around this sorts of things.
Awesome. And I was just going to say as well, if I was going to visit Granny in Ireland, I'd probably have to wait for cows to get off the road.
Yeah, I was gonna, I just love our Granny.
I like the example. It's cool. So look, Robert, I'd like to thank you for coming on. A lot of different people are going to be watching this case study, whatever you want to call it, with our legal learned person, something I did. I can't be an expert anymore. So there you go. But anyway, look, as always, thanks a million. People that are watching who are coming into the community, you're going to see Robert when you come in, and you'll see that, this is a legitimate thing that we're all doing. We're working hard to help everybody and serve everybody. And I'd just like to thank you for coming on today, Robert, and appreciate your time.
Happy to do it. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Robert.
Hope you enjoyed today's video. Covered a lot of ground with Robert. His story is great. It's inspiring. But the biggest thing I want you to take away from today is this is somebody who started from nothing and built up a business and has taken that business on as a part-time business now to supplement his private label practice. But he has a private label practice now. He's gone all in with private label sellers. Why is that? Because this is a growing industry that is just growing all the time, month on month, and it's something you can absolutely get involved in. So first thing is, like this video, subscribe to the channel as always. Make sure to leave a comment as well. Tell us what you thought of the case study today. Would love to hear your thoughts. And also, if you want to get some free training and learn how to get your Amazon business up and operational, no matter if you're just starting or maybe you're an intermediate and you're looking to take this thing global, whatever the case may be, grab the free training link. It's beneath this video in the description. Click on it. It'll bring you to our website. Put in your best email address and we will get started training you straight away for free. So subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video. I look forward to doing more case studies like this in the future.